In the aftermath of an especially bloody 48 hours here in Jacksonville, 2 elected officials say it's time to declare what they call a state of urgency or even a state of emergency.
Our city, I say, is on fire. I believe our streets are filled with blood and tears.
State Senator Audrey Gibson says she is asking the governor to send in state troopers and maybe even the National Guard or the federal government to help patrol crime-ridden city streets.
She also argues the city needs to change its curfew laws. Gibson spoke out today at the scene of a quadruple shooting last Thursday night where 2 people, including a 14-year-old, were killed in a Northwest Jacksonville park. Today, police identified that teen as Denham Williams. So far, they have not announced any arrests. Tarek is focusing on the list of unsolved murders here in Duval County. But we begin with News4JAX reporter Jim Pickett live at Elizabeth Powell Park in the Lincoln Hills neighborhood. Jim?
You know, there's not many people, and there haven't been all day here at Powell Park, except for this morning. That's when the large group was out here with Senator Gibson and others as they talked about something that needs to happen. One thing they talked about, as you had mentioned, was expanding their curfew, or really enforcing it. Right now, it's from 11 p.m. For those teenagers during the weekdays, 12 midnight during the weekend. They also talked about bringing in the Florida Highway Patrol and possibly the National Guard. You know, that's happened here before, and they say it needs to happen again. With shooting after shooting and more young people being murdered in our streets, some say Jacksonville needs outside help. Barry and Heather Sanders say they're getting help, not from police, but from God. They live right across the street from Powell Park with their 6 kids. And it's here where a 14-year-old and another young man was shot and killed. 2 others were injured last week. Despite that, the Sanders say they're staying put. You said police have come up to you, and what have they told you?
They've suggested that we move. They said it's not safe here, but it's safe to us. It's home. This is where God has placed us, and until he tells us to leave, we're not leaving.
Some elected leaders say it's time for something to happen and not just talk about it.
And our city, I say, is on fire. I believe our streets are filled with blood and tears. The funeral homes are the biggest business in Jacksonville right now. I am so over it.
That's why State Senator Audrey Gibson and Representative Tracy Davis are going to ask the state and possibly the feds for help. They want to see FHP patrol neighborhood streets in Jacksonville. Gibson says bringing in the National Guard would not be out of line. It would not be the first time that's happened in Jacksonville. 27 years ago, the National Guard patrolled the highways because of random sniper attacks along the interstate. That led to national news referring to I-295 as the highway from hell. Would the National Guard be the way we need to go now?
I don't have a problem calling out the National Guard. I'm not interested so much in having armed guardsmen on every corner. But we need to have a bigger presence in this city. And whatever that looks like, and I know some people will, want to be a little bit jittery about that, but we're not safe.
Gibson and others say it's also time to change the curfew laws, making them stricter and enforce them. Not everyone is in agreement with all of these ideas. Ben Frazier of the Northside Coalition says nothing should infringe on our civil rights.
Yes, a curfew might be a good idea. But before you start bringing federal or state troops on the streets of Jacksonville, we need to have a little talk first.
Of course, I reached out to Sheriff Mike Williams. So far, no response from him, from Mary Curry's office, at least from his campaign manager. They believe that this was a political ploy because of the election in about a month. Now, there are some church leaders that were here today. They do say that they plan to have a meeting this coming Thursday night at Mount Sinai Baptist Church over on Silver Street near Springfield. They want all church leaders from across the city to get together to try to come up with ideas. For now, we're live in Northwest Jacksonville. Jim Pickett, Channel 4